Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Farscape, Season 4, Episode 3. What Was Lost? Part 2, Resurrection. Team Crichton fight off the Peacekeepers and restore the planet of Arnesk to its former glory.
Why is this a two-parter?
If it was a one-parter, you would ask, why is it a one-parter? Ignore the fact that single episodes are not called one-parters, although maybe they should be.
Would I, though? Is this two-parter so jam-packed it couldn't be reduced to one?
Yeah, they could have put all of this stuff in one part and it would not have held up well because it would have carried no real emotional weight. But sadly, I think even in two parts, it still doesn't. I got really bored towards the end.
Yeah, nothing happens, really.
They restore the planet and I'm sitting there trying to keep my eyes open. And it's been the same time every time I've watched these two episodes. They're just deathly boring. I have no investment in this stupid planet and the monks that kept chopping up a goat. I think the plot was predictable for most of the second half of the episode.
Oh yeah, there's nothing surprising here.
There's a lot of stupid moments that weren't even particularly well written.
This episode does something that drives me crazy, and it did it twice. And that's when someone is pronounced dead without checking anything. You just look at them and say it, and it was done twice. Once about John, and then once about Scorpius.
It did feel like they were calling it in. Some of the writing was really pretty dire. There was a few moments. There's a few things I liked, a few Farscapey bits here and there.
Which bits?
Okay, John running out of ammo twice was really good. He throws the gun at them. The fact that they left the old woman behind. The first time they tried to escape.
I don't remember.
They tried to escape and left the old woman behind, and then they came back, and then the second time they did take her. And John calling Braca Smithers. Yep. Those were the bits I liked. Everything else I was at best neutral on.
I was below neutral, probably for the most of the running time.
Oh, I said I was at best neutral.
Okay, yeah. I really hated that fight between John and the sea creature thing because it was in the water. John would have no chance.
Didn't Chiana kill the sea boy?
I don't remember. Is that when she snipes him with the digging tool?
Yep.
That was silly too, because earlier they didn't use it for fear of misusing it. And then she shoots very far away. Whatever, it was a dire situation.
It was an anticlimactic battle because John's not going to beat this guy in the water, and this guy is not going to beat John on land, so they have to fight. So they fight in the water because otherwise it would just be John assaulting a helpless sea creature.
I'd be fine with that.
Well, sure. So they fight in the water, and they have to have John survive, so they come up with Chiana sniping him. It's not satisfying. And the whole concept leads to that conclusion, so it's just a bad idea. Making the sea monster suddenly a bad guy was just not interesting.
I did not care. I liked looking at that guy. The makeup was cool.
Oh, superb.
That was it.
Here's a question. In the first episode, there was the whole whodunit thing. What was her name? Vela? The dig leader got killed. Who killed her?
I feel like it was revealed and then I forgot because I didn't care.
Oh, maybe I forgot as well.
See, it doesn't matter.
That was before the Peacekeepers arrived. Then the only other dude kicking about was the guard, the other Interion, who is not in this episode.
Oh, was it the sea creature?
I guess.
I think that's where I landed because he ends up with one of the digging tools. And I thought, oh, okay, they were buddy, but maybe he wanted her out of the picture so he could do his own thing.
Maybe this is more strongly hinted or even directly revealed in the episode, but maybe I missed it. I don't think I did, but maybe I did.
Oh, I thought of something I liked about this episode, and that's in the beginning when John isn't allowed to know the plan because it might ruin it. He might reveal to Greza, so he has to follow whatever Dargo has concocted.
That is a sensible way to implement that plan. I'm surprised John was so against that way of thinking.
Because he can't offer alternatives. He doesn't know what he's walking into, and he's more comfortable with uncertainty when he has landed on it, not when someone else has decided it for him.
The plan was Elec smashes into the planet and that kills all the Peacekeepers?
Or destroys their ships.
Yes, it seemed really, again, unsatisfying. Elec just sort of rolled across the surface a bit. I was expecting, like, proper, like, an explosion of Leviathan parts. The ground tearing up, that sort of thing.
Mushroom cloud?
Well, it doesn't need to go that far. That might have helped, though. It seemed like a low-speed car crash.
Yeah. Exchange insurance.
Most of the damage seemed superficial. But did Elec even die?
Maybe not.
That would be horrible. The Peacekeepers just kind of, after they got hit by Elec, they just weren't really in the episode anymore.
They were tired.
John shot so many of them. So many highly trained commandos could not beat one guy with one pistol, with no ammo and no training.
John is an army. He's a one-man army.
I think Peacekeeper training may not be up to scratch. I mean, they were really suffering from Stormtrooper syndrome, where they just don't ever hit anything.
It's really disappointing when you miss 100% of the time.
This episode used a plot device I hate.
I can't think of it.
Episodes where often it's used when people grow artificially old, but episodes where something gets harder and harder and they struggle more and more.
When did that happen here?
Like the whole second half with the magnetics.
Did that get harder and harder?
Yeah, the screen was tinted and they were like crawling around on the ground going, oh, it's so difficult with all this magnetism. I don't like this plot device because it just makes things drag on for a long time, and then usually it's just resolved at the end. They flip the switch and it's all better.
Just before it's too late.
Yeah, which is a really often banal target because it's so difficult that whatever it is they have to do has to be quite easy to do normally. In this case, walk 600 meters. It's just not satisfying for that to be like a really tense struggle to walk that far.
It's not satisfying when they complete it. Even John says something like, yeah, that's far enough. That's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. Yeah, I guess you got it done. Okay.
It has to be precisely 600 meters in an equilateral triangle. Oh, okay, just stagger around a bit. Yeah, that's probably good. There was a scene with lots of women in jail.
Sure.
They were doing that thing where they're whispering loudly in front of guards.
Stage whisper.
Yeah. Jewel screamed the handcuffs off as well. That was really silly. Why didn't she do that ages ago?
She forgot about her defining characteristic.
The handcuffs also disappeared as soon as she screamed.
It was a really intense scream where they don't just melt, they disintegrate.
Well, they evaporated away completely.
Yeah. When she hits a certain pitch, that's when they evaporate and disappear.
What were they made out of? Like iron?
Iron compound. I can't get into the specifics of it. Mostly because I'm making all of this up.
So, iron boils at 2862 degrees centigrade. That's 5182 degrees Fahrenheit. A little bit of unit news. I don't know. Its melting point is not quite that high, obviously. Melting point 1500 C, 2800 F. They never used her scream deliberately as a tool up until now.
Because that would involve interacting with her and they don't like her.
Sure. I think it raises too many questions. Like, it's fine when it's goofy, or Aaron's punching her in the throat so she melts a thing together. But here she's able to melt through solid metal handcuffs. It seems kind of overpowered.
That she can target specific metal in an area filled with metal.
And melt that much of it. Or is it even melting, or just sort of maybe not melt in a temperature way because she was not horribly burned, but because it's transformed into some liquid. I don't know. I mean, I guess we won't have to worry about this because Joel has decided to stay behind at Arnesk and muck about with some old priest dudes.
This could be the last time we see her.
Could be.
I'm okay with that. Not that I hate Jewel or anything, and we've talked about how enjoyable she can be, but I've had my fill. I think I'm good on Jewel.
The dynamics of the show have changed quite a lot for season 4.
I don't see a whole lot of reason for her to stick around.
She had no reason to ever stick around, and yeah. So it's credible that she would stay since she was some kind of academic. Yeah, I find it hard to really care too much. Not because she never fit in, but because this episode was quite boring. The unexpected departure of a character at the end is it's surprising, I guess, but
It's strange that we're sending her off in this episode.
Yeah, it's just you're kind of underwhelmed, and then suddenly they throw this at you, and she's like, "Well, okay."
When a main character leaves or potentially leaves, we don't know. Well, I don't know. You know, there should be weight to it. It should feel like a big occasion. When it's voluntary like this, it shouldn't wasn't abruptly killed or anything. This is something she decided, and it's a big deal, but it doesn't feel that way at all. You just think they're saying goodbye to a character they met this episode.
Compare it to season 3, where at the end of the episode, The Choice, I think it was called, Stark just leaves. So that was a sudden and abrupt departure as well. I felt that one was a lot better.
It was. You're not wrong.
I don't know if that's just because Stark was a better character than Joel, or at least a more likable and better integrated character than Joel, or if it's just because that episode was a lot better.
Could be a combination of things. I wouldn't say it was all one thing.
I think there's something more to it. I think it's the fact that when Stark left, the dynamic changed. And he left behind his mask, which would further change the plot and dynamics later on. So the ripples of him leaving were felt for quite a while. I don't think it was particularly sad exactly when he left. It's surprising, maybe. Here with Jewel, it's like she's not even a character.
I expect no ripples.
Yeah, they won't even likely mention her. Or let's say I would not be surprised if she was never mentioned again.
Yeah.
That could just be a flaw of her deliberately divisive character. But I think they could have made it better. This episode was better. I can imagine Jewel leaving could actually have an impact because she's been in a lot of episodes. We've had good times with Jewel. And
this is something important to her. This isn't a random, okay, I'm leaving kind of thing. Well, it kind of feels like that
way. Yeah,
but it shouldn't.
Is it because it's not important to us, these dang monks, and their super peaceful plan to make little pyramids?
I think her desire to investigate the past came up too recently. If this were she did mention it early on. I don't remember. But I didn't feel this burning desire from her throughout her time on the show that this is something she was dying to do. For example, John, we know about wormholes in Earth. That's very well established. It's not the same thing with Jewel and architecture or archaeology. Sorry.
I mean, it could be either.
Yeah, See, I cared so little, I got mixed up.
I think it doesn't help that they spent probably upwards of 5 minutes wandering around saying, wow, this is amazing, when it really was not amazing. I also want to bring up a line which I think ranks as one of the worst lines in the whole show.
Ooh, I'm excited.
After they spend the whole episode trying to get the probes to fix the magnetic stuff, they struggle around for ages in the tinted camera vision, and then activate them into the sky, and suddenly everything's cheery again. I can't even remember who says it. I think it's Jewel. She says, the probes, they must have reversed the magnetics. Like, really? Did they not think that people would be able to work that out? I mean, I know it's a boring episode, but come on. It's so un-Farscape-like to have a blatant explanatory line wedged in there.
This episode feels so distanced from Farscape, what it typically is.
Yeah, it had very little of the Farscape feeling. I had a kind of complicated plot, but not in a way that ever really gelled together well. All the action scenes were very generic. There was no crazy stuff going on. And I don't think that the show is good because they've put it full of zany stuff, but it often is crazy in kind of a cerebral way. Like, it'll throw plot devices at you that are quite out there, and it'll use them in really twisted or bizarre or unique ways. And that's when it shows at its best. This is none of that. This could be an episode of any other sci-fi show. This could be an episode of a fantasy show. Uta Naranti Pralasol.
The old lady, Granny.
She actually does have a name.
I prefer Granny.
Is it Pralatong?
I don't know. I only caught the Naranti part.
Naranti, yeah. I think every time they meet a new person, their name gets longer. Because Joel's full name is pretty long.
I thought that was longer, but that might just be my memory.
Jilishko Tunai Fenta Havalis. Yeah, it's longer. I don't know if they kind of thought, hey, maybe some of them should have like longer names.
So then they had to make up for
But yeah, because
all the time.
to push the average out, everyone they meet in season 4 will have like 10 names.
They should shorten Noranti to just Auntie.
Like she's an old aunt.
Yep. No, like
Right.
anti. She's against everything. She's
Is
against
she?
reason.
She says John has a purpose.
That's just something crazy old ladies say.
She is, yeah. You kind of get that feeling.
I wouldn't trust anything about destiny coming out of her mouth.
She knew Aaron was preg, or well, actually, that's never been corroborated.
She knows a lot about drugs, though.
It's always good to have a dealer nearby. I have some unit news.
I'm sorry it came from this episode.
It's actually kind of interesting. The probes had to be 600 Motra apart.
Oh, right.
Which is just over half a metra. John confirmed whether it was metra or motra, so I would presume that 1 metra is 1,000 motra, putting a metra to be probably equivalent to an Earth kilometer.
That's convenient.
Yes, because if it was 600 kilometers, they'd be screwed. I don't think they've ever brought up sort of subdivisions of the units like that before, or of metras anyway.
Maybe they'll realize that and every new unit will be a subdivision, so they can make up for.
So they can push the average out like the name length.
Yeah.
Yep, maybe. That's unit news anyway. It's kind of boring.
Well, that fits this episode.
Do you have a quote from this episode?
Maybe you weren't Bella's intellectual equal, but, well, I am now. She's a rock.
Okay, that was actually a good line. That made me laugh and give me a warm feeling.
That was the only Farscape bit for me. Well, you pointed out the running out of ammo. That's really good too, but this one line I really liked.
I think I'm sad for Joel. She could have got a better send-off than this episode. Like, her actual send-off was okay, and her moment with Dargo was pretty sweet.
She deserved better.
Yeah, she'd spent a lot of time trying to get closer to Dargo.
Oh, I mean, she deserved better as in her send-off, not
right,
better
yeah.
than Dargo.
Oh, no, yeah, sorry. I think I just said yes there, so I could keep talking. I apologize.
Not accepted.
Thanks. Shall we watch the next episode? I think we should.
I think we should too. I hope it has more Farscape elements than this episode.
What if the rest of the show is just crushingly boring?
Then I will hate you forever.
Oh, I've made a huge mistake.
I can't see that happening.
That would be weird to see.
This is a definite misfire, but it didn't feel like, okay, this is the new direction of the show.
It was them trying something new. Some weird archaeology-based history rubbish, and it didn't work. But it did feel different to previous stuff. Just worse, not better.
Definitely worse.
Also, I said it felt different. They actually have been to the set that the dig is before. In the second episode of the show, Thrown for a Loss, where Rigel got buried in the mud.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, it was a long time ago. They had the gauntlets.
Nope. No bells are ringing.
The arm gauntlets that they put on that give them drugs and make them shoot stuff out their arms.
Oh, okay.
The
that
guy
sounds familiar.
with the metal face.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
They
He comes back later.
Yeah, and they kidnapped Rigel, buried him in the sand.
I remember Rigel being in a sack.
He was in a sack, yeah. John was kind of throwing him about with it and kicking him. Yeah, that stuff took place in the same location that this place is. They use the same shooting location. Okay, anyway, let's go to the next episode.
Going.
Gone.